Hello there, guitar enthusiast. Today I'm bringing a video in which I'm going to compare neon yellow fluorescent guitars. So I'm going to talk about a few models, but the ones that I'm going to base my comparison on are the Rg550 by Ibanez. This is a Japanese guitar from the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, and the neon yellow Charvel Dimas Pro. This is a Mexican guitar built in 2016. To help compare these two guitars, I also brought a Mexican Strat and a Squire, and I'll explain you why I did this. The reason why I brought the Mexican Strat is because it's made in Mexico, like the Charvel. It's made by the same company. As you probably know, Charvel and Fender are the same thing. Fender owns Charvel. It's built in the same plant also in Mexico, and they share a good bunch of features. Well, let's begin. Let's begin to talk about the electronics, the body, and all this good stuff. But the first thing that strikes is the color. I'm gonna tell you, this guitar is actually, the Ibanez is very yellow, very neon. It gets the attention. When I have it in my guitar rack, it's the first thing that gets you, because it's so loud. But when you get it next to the Charvel, it looks like it's not so bright anymore. It fades away a little bit. This one eclipses this one when it comes to fluorescence. That's not a good or a bad thing. It's simply a fact. When both put together, as you can see, this one stands out. Now, you may not want so much, or you may love it. That's up to you. But I found it very interesting because just based on pictures, I thought they were basically the same. They're definitely not. So a couple things about this. The first one that I wanted to talk about is the body style. They are both quite standard. This is your average Ibanez body shape, and this is your average Fender shape. When I compare this one, and that's when I use my beloved Mexi Strat. When I compare these two guys, made at the same factory, just 3-4 years, one from the other, it's basically the same idea. Same body concept, same comfort cut, same everything. The body is very similar. So if you're used to playing Strats, switching to this guy over here, to this Charvel, is going to be a piece of cake. It's going to feel very, very natural. In fact, to me, and this is very personal to myself, 100% bias. This is like a Strat in steroids. It's just a super Strat made by the Strat guys at the same plant. So, same thing, very, very close. A couple of differences when it comes to the body, obviously the pick guard and the electronics. This is one thing that the Charvel guys did differently. First, it's not a 5-way switch position, it's just 3. And then you get the coil splits. So you get six different positions, which is cool. You get one more than the average. And then you get the tone knob. And this is something that Fender has been offering now for a few years now, which is that the tone knob in some models, including this one obviously, works also like a switch. Meaning, if you have it, let's say that you can go from 1 to 10. If you have it in any number but 0, it behaves normally like a regular tone control. If you get it down to 0, it works as a switch. It bypasses the tone knob altogether. So it's like it's gone. The circuit is closed to the volume, so it does not affect your tone. That I think is very cool. I really like it. It gets really bright though when you don't use the circuit of the of the tone. It gets a little bright. It gets noticeably brighter than when you do. So that's for the body and the electronics. Oh well, a couple more things. Since I'm going back and forth, I'll show you the same thing with the Ibanez. The Ibanez has one tone and one volume, just the same. They are not pull-push at all. It's just bare bones. And it's got a 5-way switch, which I personally prefer. And maybe it's just that I'm accustomed to 5-way switches instead of a 3 with the pop thing. But other than that, there's nothing new or extreme about this design. Pickups, let's talk very quickly about them. On this one, it's just Ibanez tone. If you're not used to it, it's bright and it's very tight, it's very well compensated, there's nothing missing. Maybe it could use a bit more bass. I've heard people complaining about this. I don't necessarily agree. I really like the sound of my Ibanez's. I think it works great for soloing. It's super clear. It's very comfortable to play. On this one, the electronics, by the way, the pickups on that one are Ibanez's. On this one, the electronics are the pickups are Seymour Duncan. I think it's a JB. I'm not sure if it's a JB or a Jazz, but you know, it's just, you know the drill. There's one thing that I noticed, a couple of things that I needed to mention about this guitar. First is the weight. It's noticeably heavier than your average Super Strat, including, of course, the Ibanez that I just showed you, or this average Mexi Strat. And sometimes, you know, you can get 3 guitars from the production chain, and one of them is heavier and the other one is lighter. So I cannot tell you if this is something general or only to this one guitar that I'm holding, but I can definitely feel the difference between this and the other. This is a little bit beefier. The Ibanez is just average. It's not particularly heavy or particularly light. The pickups on this one were a little bit of a disappointment to me. They're not bad, the sound is actually very good, but I'm missing output. I was hoping to get a bit more bite with this type of guitar. I was hoping to get more harmonics and, I don't know, more volume, I guess. When I compare it to my Ibanez, this one has, this is bassier, definitely more bass. The treble section, not so much. And that could be intentional, you know, that could be something that the market is asking for, or the direction things are going. I do not know, but while I think it's still very good, if I had to rate them 1 to 10, I'll give them an 8. I think more output would have been definitely a plus on this particular guitar. The neck. Let me get the two of them. The neck on your Ibanez is your average Wizard. Again, this is a super generic Ibanez type of guitar. Ibanez guitar, and type of guitar, I guess. And this one, the neck feels like a Strat to me. Some people argue this, they say that it doesn't, but I feel the thickness is Strat-like. Everything feels like a Strat except for the frets, which are massive. In the Ibanez, they are big as well. I think they're jumbo in both of them. But you can definitely feel that there's a good piece of metal there. And they are actually very comfortable, the two of them. However, if you like thin necks, this one is much thinner than this one. This feels like... One of the cool things about this guitar is that it's very simple, you know, following the Fender philosophy of all times. They do things that work, that are durable and extremely simple. And you know that there's some attractiveness to that. but still, if you're looking for something really fast when it comes to, a really thin neck, this might be it for you. And what else? There's something also that I wanted to mention about the headstocks. This one has a straight headstock, while this one has an angle. I personally like better this type of design over this one. Personal preference, I don't like angles so much, though I love this guitar. I mean, nothing's perfect, right? But on this Ibanez in particular, there's a design flaw that if you buy one used, you definitely want to check and look for. If you see, there's two things that are not very bright about the way this headstock is designed. The first one is it's got an angle, but it does not have a volute, which is the same flaw that Gibson guitars have. Why this is a problem? Well, because if you drop it, the weakest point of the guitar is this. That's why Les Pauls always break here, because it's a really thin piece of wood. That's got an easy solution, getting a neck with a volute, which is an extra piece of wood. I mean, not an extra piece of wood, but it's carved in a way that has more wood on this area. If that wasn't enough to make this guitar's neck weak, it's got two holes in the weakest part of the guitar. Not very good. In the back of the nut, obviously, that's what holds the nut. In newer models, of course, Ibanez has fixed this. This is like I said, 1990, I think. So still pretty new to the RG, to this type of super thin Wizard necks with the angle and all that. So that's something you need to look for if you buy one new, used. Check this part and make sure there's no cracks. If there's cracks, is somebody dropped the guitar and now the structural integrity of the neck might be compromised. Or might not. You don't know, but I would not recommend you to buy one if it's got something there, unless you get it for dirt cheap. What else? Oh, one of my favorite features about this guitar. This is where you adjust the truss rod. I really like when the truss rod is adjusted at this part of the neck instead of here. But I don't like it when I have to unmount the whole neck, like in previous models or old Fenders, right? That you need to literally unbolt the neck, make the adjustment, bolt it in again, and hope, cross your fingers that you adjusted it right, because otherwise you are going to have to do it again. This one you adjust here, but you can just, use your Allen wrench and put it together. It's extremely neat. Makes the headstock look wonderful and very clean. It's a good idea. It's a pretty good idea. Your Ibanez has just the typical truss rod. Not good, not bad, it's just what we are so used to, right? Which is with one plate in the cavity. Nothing wrong about it. I don't really have any reasons to complain, other than if you want to adjust it, you have to unbolt this thing, take it apart, make the adjustment and put it back, while with the other one is a breeze. You just move it a little bit. If the day before it was really cold, it takes about 15 seconds. But again, this is just me being a bit nitpicky. There's nothing wrong with this one, and 95% of the guitars have something like this, or not the cover, but just the truss rod there. And I feel I'm missing something. Oh yeah, okay. The neck. So the first time that I played this guitar, I felt the specifications were similar to my Mexi Strat, which they are. It feels really close. There's some differences, but you can tell it's been built in the same place. One of the differences, by the way, is this one has a compounded radius. So here it feels more like a Strat, and it goes, as it comes to the body, it gets flatter and flatter, which is cool because you still get to play chords very comfy, and when you get to this area, you can still do bendings and get the strings really close as you bend. So good for them in here. the Ibanez, the neck is very flat, but it's not compounded. It's just the same all the way. And again, I hope nobody takes this the wrong way. If you have an Ibanez or if you have a Charvel, I'm not trying to imply one of is better than the other one. From time to time, you'll hear my opinion on it, but I really mean no disrespect to you guys or to the brands. Otherwise, I wouldn't own them myself. I really like them. Okay, so coming back to the neck, I was telling you before that it felt like, I thought it felt like my Mexi Strat. The thickness, I don't know, obviously the overall looks, the fender, headstock and all that. But there was something there that I could not identify that felt really familiar, but I didn't know what it was. And finally it hit me. It felt like this other one guitar that I'm going to show you in a second. This is an Squire Deluxe, made in Indonesia. This is actually my daughter's, as you can see for the funny strap, fortune cookies, and it's actually a very good guitar. The neck feels great. It's got this unfinished feel to it. It's like it's been oiled or something, and so does the Charvel. On the other hand, the Ibanez feels like, I don't know, it's got the regular lacquer. This one feels like, I don't know, it feels custom shop or something like that. This, like I said before, is Deluxe, Squire Stratocaster Deluxe, made in Indonesia, 300 bucks new. And it's, by the way, actually a good guitar. Not just for the price, it really is and feels good, like a much expensive guitar. Sometimes and I have to admit, I'm guilty of this too. When I see Squire, I'm like, yeah, you know, because they made really poor quality models. This is not one of them. This is actually a very nice guitar. Even the pickups are reasonably good. So the neck on this one has this satin feel and finish type of thing that to me feels really, really similar as this one. This one is it's one piece in the back. Am I lying? No. It's just a one piece back. I don't know if I can get it to you clear enough. And then you have the fretboard, which is also maple. I guess that's where they put the truss rod, because if it doesn't have the stripe in the back, it means they put it between the fretboard and the rest of the neck. And again, it feels really, really comfortable. And I much appreciate the fact that they used an oil instead of using lacquer, because not because I don't like lacquer, again, which I do, but it just brings something new. I'm always looking forward to playing a guitar that has a little bit of different personality. You know, I like when companies take a little bit of risk and bring something new to the table, and they did in this case. And last but not least, the bridge. The bridge on this one is a Floyd. The bridge on this one is a Edge Pro, and they basically do the same thing. There's oh well, the frets. I forgot to mention, this is a 22 frets. This is a 24 frets. What can I say about the bridge? Well, I've read in some forums and I've seen other YouTubers reviewing this guitar, and they say the bridge is made of less quality alloy, like the metal is cheaper or something like that. It's possible, I'm not gonna deny that, as I don't really have precise information of what materials they used, but I can tell you what impression it gives me and how is it working for me. It actually plays very good, stays in tune great. When you look close to it, it looks like it's being finished really nicely, meaning there's no flaws, there's no cheap feel to it at all. It does what it has to do and it does it right. So how is it gonna be? Is it gonna peel in 5 years? I do not know. I sincerely doubt it. I think this is gonna last a good while. And how about the bridge on the Ibanez? This is my favorite bridge ever. So that's gonna be very biased for me to, to come across. The bridge on this guitar works great. It's super smooth, really easy to use. It does what it needs to do. It stays on tune really well every time. And they keep making them better. The newer versions are easier to string. Is the one thing that I really like about these Ibanezes is that they always think ahead. They don't do anything extreme, but every little change they make, it's wise. They seem very thoughtful. About the bridge, one thing that I really like about this model that the other one does not have is the push-pull arm. You just pop it in and pop it out and it's good to go. With the Charvel, that's not how it works. This one you have to unscrew. This, back in the day, was a symptom of a worse bridge. I'm talking 15, 20 years ago. Today's days, not so much, not anymore. I'll rather pop it in, to be honest. I don't like having to be in screwing, but it's really not a big deal. And all things being said, to be fair, this one has an advantage over the other one, which is that you can get it tight or get it loose. It works either way. So you can adjust how tight you want it to be. That's good too. And it does not wear off, meaning in 5 years, it's gonna be working the same. As for the other one, it doesn't. If you've had an Ibanez before with this type of bridge, you'll see that the problem they have is after a while they go hanging. They no longer stay in place. And that's because these two pieces of plastic wear off, and you need to either replace them if you can find a replacement, or buy another arm. So that's kind of a downer, but again, to me it's still worth, because I really like the convenience of putting zero effort into, I like as fewer obstacles as possible when it comes to me going to play a gig or just at home or anything. I just like when things are ready to go. Maybe something also psychological, that I like the ease of it. And I think I'm not forgetting anything. That's basically it. So 1990, I think, versus made in Japan. 2016 made in Mexico. Charvel versus Ibanez. I have to say something more that I just came to mind about the other colors. I've had the opportunity to play a fluorescent pink and a fluorescent green on this version, and I've also played the Ibanez's. And same thing applies. These ones are this is always like more screamy and more loud as a color, not the tone, but the color itself, than the Ibanez's. But the Ibanez's also look very good. So it depends of how loud you want it to be to the eyes. The Ibanez actually made 2 reissues for that guitar. For this Ibanez I'm reviewing. One in the 20th anniversary, which were made in Japan as well, and those are probably some of the nicest guitars I've ever played. And one in their 25th anniversary, which were made in Indonesia, and were not as nice, but still very cool guitars and much cheaper, which is nice. The 20 anniversaries fixed some of the problems that this one have. like for instance in the back of the headstock of the Ibanez. Remember that I told you it's got these two screws? Well, they got rid of that. And they made the neck, I think, a 5-piece, which really strengthens every part of the neck, including the headstock joint. So if you have an opportunity to get your hands in one of those are a fantastic option. I had a couple of them in the past, and I regret selling them really bad. I had a black one, which is not fluorescent. I know it's out of the topic, but it's probably the best playing guitar I've had. And I truly encourage you to give them a try. Now, this is it. I think I ran out of ideas and options. Like I said, the Indonesian ones are also pretty good, although a little expensive in my opinion, even in the used market. If you know of any other fluorescent neon guitars that I missed, and you've played them and you would like to share wisdom, please leave a comment and let us all know, because I'm really curious to see what you guys have to say. If you're curious about something or I missed something, you're welcome to ask me any questions you may want. I always try to respond really quickly to comments. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.